Okay, good evening, everybody. We're really glad you could all make it here tonight to our Arts and Craftsmen Guild right on our campus, second Thursday of the month meeting. Just to begin with, if everybody could please silence your cell phones or turn them off, so we don't have to worry about that later. And we're very, very happy to introduce Theone Oblamski. Very happy to have you here. She is creates these wonderful dolls. She will speak about her history. She's a multimedia artist. She'll talk about why she creates them, how she makes them, and how why she began to make them. Okay, all right, thank you.
So, one day, about 19 years ago, I was in Canada at a big art exhibition. It was one of those Oakland, one of a kind. And way back in the very back corner was this booth, and they had these dolls. And I didn't even like dolls when I was a kid. And I was like, oh my God, I have to learn how to make one of these. So I went home and I tried, and it was a disaster. I had no idea what was going on. So then I looked, these are called art dolls, by the way. So I looked up art dolls, and there's a world of art dolls that you can't believe. If you look them up, a lot of them are way better than mine, a lot of them are way worse, but anyway. So I found out that they actually sell patterns, so you can start from there. And I wanted to join an art doll club, and there was Ohio, which I thought was the closest, and then I found out there was one in Fort Erie, Canada. So I joined the Canadian Doll Artists Association, and I went up there and you could take lessons. One that I took was in making wigs, and I was younger at that time. Everybody seemed to be older, and I'm like, what do these people know? And this lady that was teaching the wig class was the wig maker for the Montreal Opera House. And then this one was the president of the bank. And so it's a hobby that's big and it goes everywhere. So I joined for a while, and then took a lesson in making shoes, making your own patterns and so on. And I love them. When I made my first one that really looked like a human, I was like, oh my God, this is really wonderful. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, how do I make them? I start out with a pattern. By now I can make my own patterns. And you can see there are things like feet and hands. And these are heads, the front and back, which was my biggest problem. I didn't know how to put these together. And these are ears. You sew around them, cut them in half, and you stick them in the head, and you're sewing on them. And these are all cloth, everything made by me. So I have the patterns and all that, and then you cut them out of fabric like this. And then everything has a little opening so that you can stuff it. And I stuff everything with a pinhole there. These.
Where do you buy those?
Actually, I found some at an antique show, and actually, my dentist was my friend, and he was getting rid of some. So that's how I ended up getting, and they come very small too. But before I knew about them, I was stuffing them with a stick, and you can't get them even, and then the stuffing's all lumpy and so on. But this, for example, would be me sewing a hand. And when you take off the pattern that you've made, you can see how, oops, it's stuck. You can see how it's really tiny. So that was problem 2. How do I turn these fingers inside out? And I have no clue. So one day I'm having coffee with someone, and I get a little stir stick, and I see straws, and the stir stick fit into the straw. So I put the straw on the finger, and I put the stir stick up the finger, and suddenly it works. And as I move on, they now make this thing. It's metal. So it's really easy to turn a thing inside out. There. So what else do I want to tell you? So so I make my patterns, and when I make my patterns, I have to make clothes to fit. So this is my handy little thing. I made a guy playing the violin, and I put his pattern pieces in the front, and I put his clothes pieces in the back. So like this guy had a tuxedo. So this would be the front of his suit and the back and so on. I make them out of paper towels. and get them to fit, and then I save them, so if I make another doll the same size, I at least have something to start with. So that was that. I'm gonna go through this real fast. So when I make the hands, I put a double paper clip inside each finger so that you can actually articulate the finger and move the arm and so on. In the legs, I would put like here's a hand. You can see I can bend the fingers and I can bend the arm, or if I want it really bent, I'll make a pattern that's this shape, so it'll stay that way. And this bend, this is a wire. This would go inside the foot. And this would be the thigh. Oops, backwards.
Aluminum wire.
I don't. It's a wire I found. And there's something about doing this little curve in the foot that makes them able to stand up all on their own. But I still put all mine on the base because it's just safer and it works a little better. And then we get to making and I've made myself a little body here so I can practice on it, because I use this size most of the time. I have some dolls that are this tall and straight, no feet, big boas and hats and so on and so forth. And what else do I need to tell? So that's how we do that stuff. You see it, a little open to the neck. And I have tried the soft sculpture, like I put in a basis for the eyes and tried to pinch the nose in and done the mouth. You stitch or I by hand with a heavier thread. But that's the beginning. Then afterwards, in order to make it look good, I cover the face with like a nylon stocking or a real stretchy kind of fabric. And then I really put it in, like this one has dimples, and I try to do the mouth and the nostrils and the nose and so on and so forth.
I'm stitching once you put like the stocking on, then you stitch it.
Oh, yes. You can see that here's the cover art. I just see the front of it. Because of that, we cover it here. Okay. And then drawing is not my forte, so all my faces I think look alike. I have made faces where I've stuck between the head and the nylon, which you have to be real careful with because it tends to get lumpy. But I've been able to make old people with the chin and the saggy sides and so on. And then the next thing I do with the doll, I get it all together, so I've got a body. And then I go about dressing it. And one of the things you have to do is put your hair on. And like this is a fringe for the hair. This was hair. My sister-in-law's mother-in-law passed away, and they found in her attic a trunk of doll hair for the ceramic, the porcelain dolls that she used to make. So it's obviously too big for my dolls, but I'm able to cut it up and put it together. One of the things I do is wrap it around, and then I sew a band down the middle and cut it off. And now I have glue on something. And now that I took your class, I can use the bigger, what do you call it? Oh, the glue, and I can make long hair. So I'm so excited. And then this would be fringe that I would use, and I just kind of do it in circles around the head till it's pretty full. And this would be the wig from my sister-in-law's mother-in-law, and I would have to cut it apart, sew it, and so on. I've also done it with paper, so they have paper hair. What else have I used? Oh, I've made some with a Brillo pad. For real kinky. So the way my hair looks in the mirror. And then what do I do? I've done that. You paint the face, you sew the bodies together, and everything is wired. So all of these actually could stand up. Oh, then we get to the feet. We need to do the shoes. And my friends give me their old nice soft deerskin gloves, and those make great shoes. Like I use the deerskin glove on this side and here. And it just comes out really nice. And obviously here I just use puppy stuff. These are made out of fabric, the ballet shoes. And so on, but shoes are really hard for me. You have a little piece, do I have a piece? That goes like this would be the top. And what I do is I cut off a shoe pattern. I have to trace each one because they're all different size. And then I make this of cardboard. This is the only thing I glue it onto their feet. And then, I make this piece on top. And then I put, another piece of this cardboard on the bottom for the sole. And I have actually made high heels, but they weren't too successful. So then I was telling you that you can buy patterns, they're all over the web, so making these dolls. This is a pattern I bought, one of the first ones I bought because it looks simple. And you can just follow all the pieces, they're right in there, and you end up with the same thing. And this is made of deer suede, no, doe suede it's called, it's real soft. Kind of felty kind of thing, which I found a little harder to work with. Because I like to do as much as I can with stretching it. It's easier to shape around the body and so on. These are all made with just a cotton, all the arms and legs. If you want to cut in a certain way, like you want to have an off grain for a face, so you can fill it up. And on grain if you want nice straight feet. And oh, and I should show you, like I showed you, this is one foot that you made. And then this is another you make. And you put a little thing in here for feet, which I use on this side. There. And you can see I sew it with toes. And so you can have stuff that actually looks real. And I get my ideas everywhere. I was at a garage sale and I found a little tiny pencil sharpener that had a little fan on it, big fan. So I made this lady in a chair with the fan and her stockings down and things all over the place. All the really menopause. And I like to do little things. When I was first making them, all the dolls were tall and straight and dressed real pretty. I bet 60% of the stuff in my basement, which now is a present. People have given to me fabrics and paints and everything else. Oh, by the way, I make the faces with either a what do you call it? A watercolor pen, you know what I mean? And I also use makeup, regular makeup I buy at the store for like eyeshadow. A lot of them have little eyelashes. It's on a big shelf at the dollar store. So anyway, so all these creatures were pretty much the same, and I'm like, no, I want to do something that tells a story. So like for one thing, I made these are all the cool people for those who don't know. You know, Mrs. White, Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, Mrs. Peacock, Scarlet, and what's his name, Mr. Green. And they all have weapons. If you want to look and find them, except her, she had a knife in her hand. And I hope the knife is on the floor of my garage or in my car or something on my way here. And what else do we need to know? This is my mafia guy. I think he comes away at night. This is scary. This is my cigarette girl. Yes. And I went and got pictures of using that all the old candies. Maybe you can see them here. And I went to what's that? Paper Depot, no, what's it called?
Office Depot?
Office Depot. And I told the lady the size I wanted, and she was so good. She just did everything, and then I cut them out, made them into boxes, so they look like real candy. Her I made because I love little girls who think that they're just looking so beautiful on dancing. And this is my paper boy. I made many of these. People asking for them. I made one for someone who is retiring, you know, Marianne retires. And I find those papers on the internet as well. I'm printing them out as much as I can. My daughter is a retired FBI agent, and when she retired, I made one that's a Kathy retires from the FBI or whatever. This one I made because I'm trying to do some dolls that have a brown skin. And I'm finding it very hard to paint and be able to still see the features like you would. So this is, come on, we're gonna try it. And I had a whole bunch of things. So these are all my cloth dolls, and then I also do some of the clay, these three are clay. And these three are trying to tell the story, is the way I see them. The clay ones are made, I use sculpting polymer clay, and I make feet. And everything has a wire in it, so that I can put it onto the base of the person. And, you know, you make them, and then you, I typifies in this, and you fire them. Then you take the head and you stick it on a stick. And, put the wires in, this is going to be his arms, this will be his legs. I'll cut the stick off, of course. And I could never get these arms and legs to stay together until, I was talking to the lady across the street, these kids are hockey nuts. She gave us some hockey tapes, it works great. The pattern that you put on your body. You gotta get the arms and legs in here, and I always use a real stretchy knit to do this. And so this is what the guy would look like. And that wire that was in here comes off and it goes onto the feet. Hold on. So these three are clay places. And this thing I just made to show you can do more than just making dolls. You can put them in something to make them look nice. You can make just about anything. I have some dolls that are this tall. I don't really have any that are smaller. It's so hard to work with the little tiny stuff. And what else do you need to know? Yes.
So you're always going for the feet. And how do you put the hair on? The wigs, are you stitching them?
I sometimes hand stitch them on, and sometimes I do glue there.
Okay.
Anything I can sew, I want to sew on, so it stays. You know, glue I'm not always sure of, and it took me, I don't know how many glues to find out it would stick to that polymer clay. You know, anything will stick to this. But for the polymer clay, it's difficult.
Oh, so this is what I'm working on next.
They're still pinned together and. I'm just gonna have. Oh. But that's how they look, and you can see the back of them. I've done the faces, but I haven't put the hair on.
So all of this, including clothes, it's all hand stitched, or do you do some machine stitching?
The machine stitching would be arms, legs, body.
Okay.
But then everything else, and of course, some of the clothes. Somebody asked me, they said, how can you possibly make set-in sleeves? Like this guy has? Cause it's just too small to sew, they're kind of sleeve. And, what I do is I cheat, I put the coat on. And then I slide the arm on, and then I hand stitch it in, so it looks like it's setting.
Okay.
And, I go through a lot of stuff, and I could probably have to bag of stuff in each doll, because it just smushes up.
What kind do you use? What kind of stuffing?
I use that polyfill.
It's the regular, the really slippery stuff?
Yeah, it is pretty simple, so,
Okay.
but it fills in nice and neat. I even put just a teeny bit of stuffing in here along with the, pipe seam. And I think what makes my dolls better than some is I'm really into detail. You know, everybody has either false eyelashes, nail polish, something like that.
I mean, you see them get this overall image, then it's like, now wait a minute, there's this, and then there's that, and all those details that you have.
So I've never presented this before, so here it is.
Do you draw out ahead of time?
You know, I don't draw, I just kind of get an idea in my head, some things that I see, and then go from there. Like, I saw an old candy bar somewhere, oh, the old, cigarette candy girls. That would be nice to
He
see.
looks like a friend of mine, Vic, somebody he presented to us once. That is what I'm talking about.
I have one that I made that's very heavy. Her name is Thanks. So, and, her face, everything goes up in share. You know, who knew? Those things just come to you by chance, or somebody sees something that reminds them of a friend or whatever. I made another little girl like this who really wasn't very attractive, and she ended up looking like the daughter of someone I'm talking, but she was nuts about this. You know, I didn't say that. And then too, I do, a lot of garage sales just for things. There was a guy, like someone who's selling a real cheap table with a plastic angels on a Christmas tree. I mean, it was not my kind of thing. It was just so tacky. So I said to him, I think I want to buy this. Oh, it really works. Do you want me to plug it in this? And in my head, I'm going, no, I'm just gonna rip her hair off. But that's how I get a lot of things. So, pardon?
Maybe like caricature of people.
You know, I have tried and I don't think I can make it look like that person. There's a woman named Lisa Lilienthal. Liptenthal. She has a book out. There's many art doll books. She makes a skeleton with the wires and then fills in muscles and everything else. And she's done Marilyn Monroe, she's done James Dean, all kinds of people. They're gorgeous. I could never do that. I don't have the time. If I were, I had some people say to me, in fact, there was a teacher who was trying to make one that looks like me. And I said, I'll make it, and they'll have the blonde hair and the blue eyes and look like a teacher and carry a notebook, but it won't be anything. So I'd rather make you something else, and she wanted a news for it. So that's what she did. And I mean, there's just all opportunities to make dolls. I've seen some people who've done cowboys. There's a beautiful one I saw of King Arthur, and this was a sister team, and she would make the figures, and this one would make the clothes, and it was just outstanding. Like you think it was really real. So look them up. You would just be amazed.
How long does it take you to make?
If I eat and sleep and do nothing else, probably a week or more. And sometimes it's like letting glue dry or, you know, what else? So,
So you mentioned when you were young, you really didn't like dolls, so what was it?
it
And
was,
you talked about it, what really triggered
I
that?
think it's the love of sewing and putting things together and seeing the style. When I saw that, I was like,
And not seeing virtual dolls, but seeing.
no, seeing one handmade art doll, this art place. I forgot to say too, when I make their feet, I make one foot that's just like this with the thing in it to hold it up. And the other foot, I put a wire right through. So every one of them has a wire that goes through the base to hold it in. And then of course at the end too, after we made the shoes and done everything else, I put a piece of felt on the bottom, which not only covers up the hole with the wire, but you just want that on your dresser or whatever. So.
I think your faces are very expressive, you said they all look the same, I disagree. They all look very unique.
Thank you. You don't know how many I've thrown out.
And they're probably all wonderful.
They do, no, they really look good.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, actually, I went to in 2006. And I did a little bit, I was still working at the time. And then, the kids are all gone, my husband passed away, so I have plenty of time. So I do this. And I do other things too, I smart, I crochet. Now I read. And what else to do? I used to recover lampshades for people. Anything to do with sewing and moving your hand, and I don't like to sit still. I spent a lot of time in my basement. I took one summer where I just had cloth here and pencils here and leather there, and I took my whole basement and half of my basement, and I organized the whole thing. I bought shelving, I bought the little tubs, so I have one that says white fabric, blue fabric, black fabric. The school I was at was sorting out their card catalog. Well, what's better than storing stuff in there? Oh, my dad made me what was it? I think it's 6 feet this way and 10 feet that way to work on. So everything I have is now organized and it's plenty of room. You know, I can move it out and it's no problem. I actually have pictures of my craft room, which I think is the best in my room. I love it. I just love being down here. I was drawer for sequins and drawer for bias tape and drawer for pins and drawer for clothespins. And I use a lot of clothespins when I do this stuff to just sort of hold stuff together, keep it there. A lot of pins. Oh my gosh, do I love the pins. So, anything else you need to know? Everybody have enough rain? Oh, goodness. My neighbor had so much rain, it's like a pond, and when I went out to get my newspapers this morning, there were 2 ducks in it. No one was trying, and the second one said, I was just gonna save it.
Theone, thank you very much.
I'm gonna bring him up to the camera for the people to see.
Well, have a look at them and see what you like and what you don't like and. Go ahead. Please do. I think that, and they've got it lost.
What is the money?
And then this guy is my little elf tonight. I found a shoe when I was looking around. I said, well, I'll make myself a little, myself. So that's what we had this time.
I grew up in New Orleans, and I spent a lot of time in the French Quarter. And, I remember going to the markets and things like that. This little old man who would make these apple dolls.
Yeah.
They're made out of dried apples. Extremely expressive faces. I remember those, they were fast.
They're adorable.
Oh, the other thing I do is this Christmas, I put all you forks, this ring, and I made it out. And then I make them into something like I had a festival, I had a sailor. And I screw it on the really important part. And sort of a little close here, but then she's leaving. But it's all sweet. Oh, it looks nice. Do you do a lot of those? And now I just do this one girl, I'd like to, I mean, trying to lose track. Yeah. But I got I had 80,000. And they're just sitting there. At first, it was hard to, well, I gave away a lot of things, but it's hard to sell them. And I sell them for
Probably Air Force is there, yeah, they're all there.
and then at this gallery I go to, they say, what do you want? I tell them, and then I come back and they raise it 75, 100,000. They tell me it's, I don't know, it's, I don't know what this was. Well, they do it.
I especially like the claim.
We get to
Yeah.
I can't make them any bigger than this,
Why not?
because I think it just takes too much play, and I thought it was sad.
Just,
The variety.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, post one next to your scarf.
This is okay. That's why it's gotta be.
That's why I was.
I like
And I love the face. I love the face.
Yeah.
You know, the one in the.
They could be seasons,
Yeah. There's from the.
I've never seen anything else.
It's Mrs. Miss,
Well, I call the places where I went to, and it was all, and I say, there are thousands, they say, thousands,
the most. Mrs. White. Professor. Well, that's what it is. Gold is that, but, well,
It's all in the marketing too. Yes.
yeah, look at
Well, yeah,
that.
it's not more.
Yeah.
She just, when you say the word figure, you mention the price all the time. Oh, yeah, well, absolutely.
Or what is it? Mustard, mustard. Yeah. It's just. Yeah, that's just.
It's not like, you see somebody's brother.
They used to have this great.
Kind of, oh, here's not. Whenever I make a fingernail down, the first thing people do is to look and see if it's. So I always. And then, oh, they don't want it unless it has a name, and I'm like, I don't know what to name, and also,
Oh, yeah.
well, and you are, I found a book. So I kind of open it, and that's the name. What else?
What would you call her?
She's give it a try now. And I did make her, and I was really pleased with them, a bullfighter, which someone sold, and, his name is here, and she's having the same thing.
I'm hoping they'll bring it, right, just, so.
Well, have a look at it, if I haven't done all the reviews except, Mrs. White, she lost her mind.
You wanna- Or they, yeah.
Come here, right now. Oh, before everyone comes up, I just have everybody's attention for all the announcements.
Lisa, just stand up.
Oh, yeah, oh, the person that listens to my, that, yeah.
And I heard that the new, blue movie has totally different characters. So unless you're old, like, gosh, you don't know who these people are. So thanks. You know, went into it, you feel like it's the very, that old goodness. So there you go.
Just a couple of announcements before everyone comes up. I'm looking for ideas on where to have our summer vacation. If anybody has any, come and see me. I know a lot of people wanted to have alcohol, and last time we weren't able to because of where we were. So if anybody has any ideas, let me know. Field trips came up, and we love to do field trips, but they have to be on days other than our regular meetings. So that, you know, maybe on a Saturday where more people can go if they're working or whatever. So if you wanna, plan a field trip, we're gonna ask you to take care of the details of doing that. Like I wanna have everyone come and see what Stitch Buffalo is all about. So I'm gonna be planning that one, and I know Yvonne mentioned, the Hubbard House on Oakwood. I've always wanted to see that, and we're gonna ask her to also, you know, take that on. So we love to do that kind of stuff. If there's someplace you love or someplace you'd like to go, come and mention it to us, but we're gonna ask you to enact that.